Dr. Onkis was invited to be the advisory board and keynote speaker for the advanced level training of various international companies and courses to train the advances of uses of filter, Botox, thread lift, and invited to be the speaker of the holistic anti-aging, cellular and nutritional therapy. With her extensive experience, Dr. Onkis has invited her own technique of blend and block, sleep cake layering technique, and GF and global facial analysis with natural look induction technique. For sculptures, filter injection, spatial asymmetrical correction and focused on the natural look, botulinum phase 1 of 3 toxin injection technique. I take the immense pleasure of inviting Dr. Ronkins here on the stage. Good morning, everyone. Hope all of you have been fully awakened right now. Today I'm going to talk about one of the really important factors in my country and also worldwide. It is the problem of the periorbital area and the eye area. I think you have ever heard this quote before. The eyes are the windows to the soul by William Shakespeare. This quote implies that actually the eye is a very important area for everyone. And in my experience and my practice, more than 9% of my patients that want to do the rejuvenation, they request for doing the periorbital rejuvenation. So that's why I have created this technique. This is my personal technique, with Q12, and it has been presented in Europe, UAE, and Korea during 2024. I'm Dr. Ajaryya, a dermatologist and international speaker from Bangkok, Thailand. So, why must we create? Do you have an idea why must we create? Do you like eating create? Yes, it's so delicious. And how can protein be related to treating the Q12 and periorbital area? So, just follow this lecture and you will have the answer. Firstly, this is what you know before you treat the Q12 and not just the Q12. Every single procedure that you have to present to the patient, you have to know all these checklists. Firstly, you have to know the patient factor. You have to know the anatomy of the patient, their aging process, and the severity of the problem. You know, different patients have different anatomy. Different patients have different aging process, and different patients have different severity. So you have to personalize the treatment to fit each patient. And the second key checklist is the key physician factor. You have to know your weak point and your strong point. And you have to know well about the technique that you want to use. And the last key product checklist You have to know the properties of the product that you have to use when you do the cooking. Okay, with this equipment you have to use like this. This is the other one you have to use the other technique. So every single procedure that you want to do with your patient, you have to do all these triple procedures. Regarding the anatomy, you have to know your surface anatomy. Have you ever heard this word before? The surface anatomy. The surface anatomy is the anatomy that is related to what you have seen on the surface of the patient. And you have to know the anatomy of the area that you want to treat, which is right now we're talking about the Diploma. Yesterday there is another speaker who talked about doing the rejuvenation in this area. She is talking about technique. However, one of the most important knowledge that you have to know when you treat any single area is the anatomy of the area. And the last one I want to talk is about the anatomy of the fat compartment. Okay, right now one of the most important people is that they just treat the patients that they do not know exactly their diagnosis. And fat compartment is growing the importance in our global knowledge that previously some of them believe that every single part of the face has the same fat. But actually it is divided into the compartments. So regarding the surface anatomy, you can see this area that is marked in yellow is what we call teardrop. Do you have teardrop? Yes, I think everyone has teardrop. And you know that actually teardrop is the really one of the important aging process that happens quite early. Personally, in my experience, I noticed this problem is in the patient having diabetes. Yes. And this is my patient. You can see this area, the line marked number 1 here, is what we call nasal group. Nasal group. This name has been named in 1961 by the group of labs. Thereafter, in 1969, the group of scholars, who is a very famous plastic surgeon in the States, he has named this area the circle. This is the landmark number 1. Okay? I think from my experience, this landmark is very important because this area has been has a lot of misnomers. So this is, in this slide, I have reviewed all the literature that has been regarding this area. And secondly, the line mark number 2 is what we call palpebral group. Palpebral group has been extended laterally from the teardrop area. Okay? Someone has teardrop that do not have the palpebral group. But the patients that have more severity, the surgery will be extended laterally to have a palpebral group. You can look at your face in the mirror and notice yourself whether you have it or not. And then, line mark number 3 is what we call mid-cheek group. Okay? About the mid-cheek group, it has been extended lateral-inferiorly on this area. Okay? This is one of the most common concerns of the patient. Yes? And also, this line is what we call nasolabial bone. And this line is what we call labiomandibular bone. Okay? I think the most frequent request for treatment of patients, one of them is the nasolabial bone. But you know, just treat the nasolabial bone is not a smart choice. If the problem is caused by loss of volume here and the patient will drop it down. When you treat the patient, you have to treat it at the cost. If you do not treat it at the cost, it will cause another problem consequently. And in this slide, you can see it at the oblique wheel. Teardrop palpebral malar groove, cheek groove, nasal level fold, and labial mandibular fold. You can see that actually this fold and this fold has been the result of the problem in this area. So it is a very smart strategy if you start treating this area. Okay? But anyway, because this area is so complex, it has multiple fat compartments and also it has a lot of dangerous structures around the eye. Have you ever heard the news about being blind by treating around this area? Yeah. There's lots of tests that have blindness. So that's why that some of the doctors do not dare to treat this area because it's complicated. Okay? However, if you learn the technique well, it's a very good area to treat. And this is the picture of the patient. This one, to see the real patient, is a teardrop area, and you see that picture. When the severity is more, you can see that the teardrop here has been extended laterally in this area with the palpebral malar lines. And in some cases that do not have the skin, have a skin laxity and the position of the fat head, the problem of the teardrop around this area, it has been accompanied with the other. Yeah. And in this condition, we can call it the prominent cheek junction. And I think this picture is one of the best pictures I have reviewed in the literature that can reflect the problem of the patient's clearly. You can see this one is the teardrop, okay, and this one, the palpebral malar area. You can see that we can divide that easily of the aging process of the face into three main compartments in this area. So the orbital area, the area, and the chin area. You have the back, and you see the back is from sagging. Yes. However, how can lines happen? How can lines happen? You know, the lines can happen because structure what we call retaining ligament. Yes, because we have retaining ligament. So right now, with the advancement of the knowledge, what we do is not just filling in the volume, but to reverse the aging process, dealing with the back compartment and also dealing with what we call retaining ligament. And when we are growing older, we have more bags, like periorbital bags, we have cheek bags, nasolabial bags, and we have the bags in the chin. The combination of the sagging on the skin, loosening of the back compartment, and also the retaining ligament. Okay, have you seen this picture before? Yeah. This picture is what we call the anatomy of the teardrop area. Teardrop area, you see, okay, this is the schematic depiction. Teardrop area is the problem in this area. The anatomy that causes the teardrop problem is the teardrop ligament here. And also, this one is the what we call OO, orbicularis ocular muscle. The palpebral part here and the orbital part here. You know, because orbicularis ocular muscle is not just a muscle that has a single part. It has the orbital and palpebral part. And it has been extended laterally, splitting into two lamella, what we call aura L, orbicularis retaining ligament. That is the structure that causes the line around our line. And this is related to the muscle inferior. And this is the flexible state. Okay? Right now, come to the categories section. From this picture, you can see this is what we call the front ligament. This is in blue. And it's laterally to be two lamina, upper and the lower one, of ORL ligament. And this is all the fat compartment. And you see the thin flesh color fiber, the thin fiber, that's the fiber of the muscle, OO muscle. Okay? This is the schematic depiction of the anatomy around periorbital area. And from this picture is the picture of the category section from the study that is published in the Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery Journal in 2012. You can see with this picture. This one is what we call teardrop, right? And you have the ORL ligament laterally, right? From this picture, you can see that when the ORL ligament is intact, the forceps has been applied to pull out the face. You see, the lower face stays still at the same position with the ORL intact. But this patient, when you have released some of the ORL ligament, then you leave this area of the lower face can be pulled up. So, from reviewing the literature, I can apply this knowledge to my technique. While you can treat this area, but you have the bonus of lifting the face. It's a very smart trick, you see? The same amount of money, but better result. And from this picture, you can see the anatomy that around here, there is a lot of very important structure. You see, you have the terminal branch of zygomatic nerve. This is the material a really important nerve, and you can see that it has vessels. Okay, you can see the flow of the LLS muscle, levator labia superiorlis muscle on the floor, and you can see the soup. What is the soup? Look here. Soup. Yes, soup is a very important anatomy. Very important. If you can remember anatomy, just remember soup. It's the vertical stab of the bridge of the right back. It's very important. And you know what is one of the most important anatomical dangers here? That causes blindness. It's a vessel. Yes. This one is the vessel. It's the ankle vein. Yes, the problem that can cause blindness is related to the vessel. And regarding the severity, around this area is called Hertmann's classification. You see the teardrop deformity, we have divided the severity into three classes. The first classes, the patient has a large volume, related is severity. You can see actually everyone will get this point when you retrospective your own picture. When you have been synthesized, graduate from the school and the university, you can see your own aging process. This has been started by the large volume generally, causing some syndrome. And then, when the aging process progresses, the large volume has been extended laterally. And you can notice some loss of the volume laterally and the line extended laterally. And more, when the aging process has been progressed again, you can see marked volume loss here, and also you can see some pixels here. That is the severity. That's why I have told you that aging of the patient is not the problem of this one area, but it's the problem of the whole area that is causing that. So regarding the fat compartment, okay, this picture is very clear. The fat compartment on the face up to the knowledge, the most recent knowledge now, it has been divided into two layers. The first layer is what we call the fat compartment, and The second layer is what we call superficial fat compartment. It has been divided by the structure called SMAC. SMAC, another important structure. For the deep fat compartment, we have middle tube, here, middle tube, and lateral tube, here, lateral tube. And we have deep medial sheath fat and the back of fat. You see, deep medial sheath fat and back of fat. Okay? This is what we call deep fat compartment, the sheath area. Okay, to see at another view. You know, anatomy is something really confusing. You have to look at it at different views, at different angles. At this view, okay, this is the SMAC. Start with SMAC, you will get it easier. This is SMAC. This is the superficial fat compartment. This is the deep fat compartment. And this one is medial tube. Okay? Again, in the category section. One of the most important things that you have to do when you looking at the category is what we call orientation. First of all, you have to do the orientation first. This side of what picture is the nasal side. That one is cephalic side, and this one is the caudal side. Okay? From this picture, you can see this one and this one. It has been stamped with different color. Okay? This one is what we call medial tube. And this one is what we call lateral tube. So, do you have any idea why this structure on our face can be stained by different colors? That is because it is not continuous. It has been divided into the compartments. So when you treat it, do not think that you treat one person and you can just massage or do anything to help the other person. It's different compartments, you see? And this area is available. And this one is the part of the sheath fat. Okay? And also, the interesting part, okay, this one. What is this one? What is this picture? This structure. We have a food. This is all some vessels. This one is the muscle. This one is water vessel. Okay, so you have, that's why I have told you that you have to be careful about this area, about the complications. Can you figure out some name of the vessel? It was this implication here. So, let's go to the superficial sheath fat compartment. You have the infraorbital, medial sheath fat, nasolabial fat, middle, lateral, and sheath fat, superior and peripheral fat. This is the name of the superficial fat compartment. Okay? That's why my favorite cake. Come to the part right now. The reason of being great cake because you know that anatomy on the face has been arranged in the layer by layer by layer by layer manner. It's really mimic the great cake fashion. So you see in the picture, here is the board, the most bottom one. And from the most superficial area, we have skin, we have subcutaneous tissue, we have musculoaponeurotic system. We have the retaining ligament and the stensils. And this area is the periosteum and the epithelium. It's arranged layer by layer by layer by layer. So the concept of purification for men is to reverse their natural anatomical aging, not to create anything weird to the patient. So to reverse the natural aging, you have to know their natural aging process and anatomy first. Okay, I think we have everything in terms of the patient have been treated and have already here. So the most welcome one is the bone, right? The bone is the toughest part of the face. So I might make the bone by using the injectable that have the property really close to the bone. Yes. Let's say, for example, if your country has an SA, you use the toughest one. Yes, the highest molecular size, the strongest one, putting in this area. And for the more superficial one in this area, we use the lighter one to mimic the properties of the skin. Okay? The concept is like this. Just use the way that your natural anatomy are. And this is the patient. Okay? One of the most important problems in my country is about the panda eye. You see that you are not tired. You have adequate sleep that you look tired. It causes a lot of problems when you have an interaction with others. It will make you lose the opportunities because others will consider you are not energetic. It's not just about the aesthetic, it's about the social communication. How to transform this panda bear to this beauty flashy look. So, firstly, I use the entry point of the cannulas as its marking is the perpendicular line dropping down of the lateral canthal and the lateral ala. Use the cannulas of the 22G using the property of the injectable that mimic the bone and inject in this fashion. You see that the other tip of the cannula will not exceed this line. This line is the line of an overall. And then you use another injectable that the property kind of the skin. This is the lightest one. Not to cause the bumpy, otherwise it will cause the bumpy. And you inject at this area with a smaller cannula, and you can go beyond into the obstacle. Okay? This is the double click because the first layer is the layer I call the foundation. It reverses the deflation of the face and can do the repositioning of the ligaments and the fat compartment. That is the function of the first layer. And for this layer, its function is to the periorbital rejuvenation of the skin. You see? This layer you cannot use fat to inject it. Otherwise, it will cause the lump. Okay? Okay, fat is another, because I do both the fat and the filler and everything. The pro and con is different. In this area, you cannot fat. But you can use other modalities, like some of the speakers yesterday they have covered ERP. So the technique is that injecting and you can use the ERP to use in this area. Okay, it helps with the rejuvenation. That about the volume that cannot be regulated because of problem. And in this area, some of you have correctalized periorbital with the bottom toxin injection to reduce the wrinkle, but it will not help because the eye gap and function mark. So the concept is like this: we have the bone and skin layer like the brick and the cement like this. And another trick. This layer is added, depends on the theory of the patient. You see the anatomy picture here. Our skin is like pretty. This one is the periosteum on the bone. This one is the skin. We have the system what we call the retaining ligament to maintain the stabilization of the face. So I choose some of the material and put it from the skin perpendicularly to support the skin by this metal bar. can restore the natural look of the face, more protection to the face, and lifting up the face. And now, can transfer the patient from this to this in just a few minutes. Okay, then the light reflection you can see here. The shadow has been gone. And the face has been lifted also. Okay, that's why. If you inject only nasal level 4, the foam will be better, but anything else, you will cause their face like monkey, you see? Someone who has volume here and have a lot of volume here. How can it be? It is monkey, you see? But if you restore the volume around here with a good technique, you can lift up the lower face, make the nasal level 4 better, and give the shiny look. It worth the money more. You see? And this is the shadow that has been removed. Okay? Because right now, about the periorbital problem, I think you know that it's one of the toughest ones. Okay? It cannot have any treatment choice that yield the satisfactory result in the single treatment. But this technique is just single treatment. The patient will be satisfied with the result because just one time you have the first improvement, and after that you can combine treatment with other modalities like the energy-based device, or the topical application of the cosmeceutical, or the PRP, or the blood pressure, anything. But you know, all these treatment needs multiple session treatment. But with my technique, the single session will satisfy result. The patient satisfied more. And in summary, reverse periorbital aging process mimicking natural anatomical layer arrangement pattern and unique properties of each anatomical layer. By following natural aging concept, you can use satisfactory results with rectangular layering technique with just single treatment. And surprisingly, with this technique may compound month by month. We also use the progressive periorbital rejuvenation method. Okay, at this point we have a question. You ever seen this patient video before? What has been your thought in mind that you have seen this one? Pardon? Okay. Bone replacement. Anything else? Okay, to make up the answer, I have a few questions for you. Is this woman the same woman Yes, she's the same woman. And what is different from the woman you have seen first and now? It's the light. It's the light. It's the light. The color of the light and also the angle of the light. So, I think what I want to share with you is not just want you to copy my technique, but I want you to understand the fundamental way of thinking, so you can apply to treat any patients in the world. Because you know the facial structure of the Caucasian and Asian, they are different. And I personally treat the patients around the world. So I know that the facial structure is totally important, totally different, and this is important. You can treat the same way. Some of the injectors in Asia follow the landmark of the Caucasian injection that caused a disaster. You see? So if you have a really good fundamental way of thinking, you can apply how you treat the patient. Actually, about the aesthetic dermatology, you are playing with art. It's about shadow, light, and angle. You can see that this woman is the same woman from the beginning, but she looks different because she has been exposed to different colors of the light and different angles of the light. So, I think seriously about my technique. I'm playing with the light also. That's why the eyes look more shiny, because when you doing the volumization, the light has been reflected more around the area. So that's why the eyes look more shiny. It happens so often that my patients think that their face look more shiny, more freshy, the nose look better. I have done nothing to the nose of the chin. But this is about the light reflection. So this is my other technique. So I can doing this whole facial transformation without any surgery. This is how I play with light and shadow. You see, no surgery, no downtime. How can we create the patients like this? This is what I'm creating and playing with the concept of anatomy and art. And as the doctors or anyone who play with science, I would like to say that in our world, the best field is the combination of the science and art. You have to have a good knowledge of anatomy, biochemical, and physiology, and you have a good knowledge of the art. So you can create any work if you have this background knowledge as well. And finally, so any of you can practice with the injectable? You do, right? You do? Anyone? So in the group at the back, what is your background, please? What is your background, please? Oh, okay, good. All right. Okay. So, okay. I will do the rough review about the complications that can happen. Okay. I would like the talk to have the benefits to all of you. Someone that is really injectable to will be beneficial for you. But someone who is in the field, I think this talk will be beneficial in the aspect that you can notice and detect the problem of the patient. Okay, have you ever seen this before? The ptosis is the complication of the botulinum toxin injection. Okay, so how can this happen? This is happening because the botulinum toxin has been spread into the muscle that we do not expect. Okay, so complication has been divided into many aspects. For example, someone has allergy and immune reaction. It can be the systemic one and the local one. But this problem has just only a few medical reports regarding the toxin. And this is the case of have you ever seen a patient be like that? I think you have seen many, even someone that has been accurate. You see, they have a scar. This complication has happened because of the injection technique when you inject the body with the botulinum toxin. Okay, so you can correct it by putting some drops of the muscle here to make it more natural. Okay. Okay, this is the multi-stolen. Yeah, multi-stolen. Okay, I think you have seen many and you can, although they deny that they have not injected, both of you know they inject, right? Because I have taken a lot of x-rays, they don't want anyone to know they have any procedure. So you have to be careful about this complication. And also, this complication is what we call, it can be friendly. Notice the difference. It happens closest here. Arthrosis is another complication that the toxin has been spread to the little muscle, the eyes. This is happened because of, firstly, the injection technique. Secondly, the anatomy of the patient. But thirdly, mostly and most frequent happen is from the quality of the product. That I think you have also the same product from China. Yes, they have created many bad quality products that do not have a regulatory how to spray and how to close it. Like this. Okay. This comes from botulinum toxin. And also, this one is another kind of ptosis. Previously, that you have seen is what we call eyelid ptosis. But this one is what we call eyebrow ptosis. You have to give two conditions. You know, because this condition, even some advanced injectors that have been injected several years based on what you see. You see, this guy has some brow ptosis with a multi-solute. Oh, how do you feel if your uncle has this look? You see? And normally we treat it with the clonidine eye drop, but it will help only the less serious case. And the complication here is the frosted look. You see, the patients cannot have a full smile, and also it has the eye bag here. You see, previously she does not have obvious eye bag, but she has right now. So to create that problem, someone has treated this orbital wrinkle with botulinum toxin, but they do not analyze the anatomy where it causes this problem. Have you seen this? Many doctors select afterwards have this look. This is the asymmetry of the smile that caused by the injection in the wrong area. Alright, you know? You see? The smile. This one is more charming for you. The bottom one or the sincere one. And the asymmetry of the lips. You see? Complications that can happen if you do not have good analytical knowledge and use a bad product. And also, what we call prominent zygoma. Okay? For the Caucasian, this problem is not a big deal because the anatomy of the body is different. But for the Asian, be careful about it because I think you have ever hear about the Korean fever. You see, everyone will have a really sharp V shape. It's not for all of us. You see, if you just reduce the masseter and you have a really big bone here, it's because your face to be disproportionate. Because you know, I have a lecture, this lecture in Korea. I have told them about this problem. Because in Korea they really treat every case as a masseter. Because the anatomy of the Korean, actually the Korean that you have seen nowadays is not their genuine face. If you want to see the genuine Korean face, you go to the picture in that temple. That have put the picture of their ancestors. You will see the real face of the Korean. Okay, their technique is okay with their face, but not for all Asians. You have to keep this in mind. And this is the asymmetrical smile. And this is how can I correct the complication. Okay? Normally I will teach this in the advanced phase of this actually, how to correct the complication. Okay? This one is interesting also. Actually, I want you to see all the rabbits, that's what can happen. Can you see this bumping off? You see? Actually, she is my friend, she's a doctor. And she wants to inject to the skin injector, you know? And this is the problem she wants me to correct for her. You see this? Okay. So this one is what we call the deep reproduction of the masseter injection. I think Caucasian do not have seen this much. Yeah, but for the Asian we have a strong masseter. It's different from this. Most of the Caucasian problem will be about we call it healthy and asymmetrical, which is like unnatural. This is very important of the Caucasian. But for the Asian, we improve every area, so we have more problems. And the local complications, another one is the distortion of her sense of voice and the neck weakness when you inject around the neck. Okay? For botulinum complication, no specific treatment or antidote. Okay? So, the key point to have you ready to resolve, all stimulated natural recovery. And for the erythrosis, that is not severe. I emphasize that it works only in case it's not severe. You can use the alpha and for the asymmetry, you can consider the opposite side. And for the filler injection, have you ever seen this case before? It's a vascular necrosis. It's a vascular necrosis. That is the disaster to your work. Okay, this is the FDA approved filler. We have the reversible and irreversible one from different brands and companies. Every time before you do any procedure, you have to do the screening of the history, do the physical examination like you do in every patient. Nothing that you are the dermatologist, you're just looking at the skin. In some sense, you have been graduated from the medical school with full of knowledge. You not minimize your knowledge like that. You have to do the underlying disease, coagulopathies, any allergies, pregnancy, lactation, infection, history, any procedure done before, and any previous surgical procedure. You have to do the screening like every single patient. And this is the disease that is related when you have the treatment. The autoimmune disease is have a lot of controversy whether you can do the procedure or not. And then about the risk, the benefits you have. And have you ever seen a patient like this? This is a picture in the newspaper of our country. Okay? And actually it happens not just in my country. Everywhere that have remuneration have a problem like this. This is caused from the fake product, the bad one. Okay? So whether you are all in this field or not, just remind your patients and the practitioners use only the qualified product. This patient, he has been treated before. This is before procedure. You see, he has done nothing, she's happy already. But she wants to be more pretty and have done by the fake product, by the non-MD injectors, okay, and have the problem like this. And you know, right now where is she? She has done the suicide. Okay. And the systemic complication is like the anaphylaxis, angioedema, and the allergic reaction can also happen. This is the angioedema and hypersensitivity reaction to the injection. You see, it can happen like this. So the dermatology is not just an easy one. You have to know every single problem. Someone can do it easy to do, but it's hard for it. So you have to know this can happen. And one of the really frightening problems of doing the injection is the vascular complication. Okay. You have heard that it can cause blindness, right? This is the area of injection that can cause the problem. Okay? I think I love this review. It has been published in Aesthetic Surgery in 2013. It has a review. Okay, the blue one is the necrotic complication. You can see that it happens often in glabella. Yeah, okay, in glabella. I think one of the most common complications in Caucasian from my experience is injection in this area. And the nose happen in the Asian because we have flat nose. Okay, and this area, and this area. Necrotic. Okay, the necrosis. Anaphylaxis reaction can happen, but the most frightening one is the blindness. Okay, visual complication you see happen around. The reason why the Asians have more blindness than the Caucasians because we treat more in this area. You see, we have flat nose, we have covering the eyes, forehead, everything. So the Asian practice and inject in the really dangerous area than the Caucasian. So that's why we have a lot of problems. Right? You know, if we do not treat in time, all the skin will be sloughed out and cause a permanent problem of the scar. Okay? This is what can happen. And you know, whether you are a dermatologist or not, you practice aesthetic or not, if you can have this problem in mind, you can recommend the patient and refer to the right doctor. Okay? Some of the patients have been to their GPs with this problem. The GPs cannot detect that it's the vascular complications and see as only the infection. Okay? So that is disaster because with this kind of problem, if you refer promptly enough, it can be cured. See? This is swelling here. And this is have bruising here. This is the vascular complication. The vascular complication, the most common one is the necrosis, blindness, and then anaphylaxis. For the blindness, this is emphasizing that for the blindness you can see that the fillers that have been used more, it can cause the blindness more. Okay, this is the progression of the complication. It starts from seconds to weeks. Okay, firstly it has blushing, and then it has a radial pattern. Blue-black discoloration, blister, and bullae formation, and the skin breakdown acceleration. The faster you treat, the recovery is there. This is the lipido phase. So, remember this picture. It's very important. We can see this pattern that someone have very radical iris that have the disease, but if someone have aesthetic procedure and have this problem, it's a really nearly the definite diagnosis that you have the vascular complication. And this is the demarcation phase, demarcation phase, and these are the progressions of the vascular complications. This is the blindness that has been caused, and this is the area that can cause the blindness. You can see that every area, even the human, can cause the blindness. Here, everywhere you can cause the blindness, so be careful. And this is the anatomy of the periocular area. You can see that this is anatomy that any single leg vessel on the face. You can see this area, even the natural level which you may consider is easy. Is continuous with the sample vein and then flow the ammonia into the eyes. And even more, it can cause stroke. You know, you have an infection and you have stroke. Because from our knowledge of anatomy, we know that our head has been fed by two main vessels. It comes as common carotid here and branches into external carotid and internal carotid. Okay, we learned in like maybe second year of medical school about this. But actually, the knowledge is very useful because the external and internal carotid has been anastomosed. So anything that you have done to the face can cause a problem in the brain. That is the case that has stroke. And this is the number of the cases from blindness from this type. Interestingly, I would like you to notice this. Fact number 1 cause blindness. Interesting. Because you know, HA has been carried out around the world much more often than the fat. But the fat causes more problems. Okay? You have to figure out this. How can this happen? This is the problem of the blindness in the case of the fat in Korea. So that is the very frightening complication. Right now, we can review the general one. The bruising can happen. Bacterial infections in the aesthetic procedure may be a little bit more complicated than the simple one because we have what we call implant. So it can have a very weird kind of infection, microbacterial fungal infection. You have to be careful about this. All herpes reactivation, melanoma, foreign body granuloma. But be careful because foreign body granuloma you have to distinguish with infection. Because some infection, the treat is as granuloma, so you put immunosuppressive and steroid can make the patient getting worse. I have many interesting cases that have been referred to treat all these things. They have been treated by many other doctors as granuloma, putting steroid immunosuppressive. But I decided to withdraw all the treatment and treat only infection. During the counter, you know it's quite hard to treat because they have been suppressed by the steroid immunosuppressive for many times. The culture become negative. So I cut down every immunosuppressive and treat all infection and the patients cure. Okay, so we have to be careful about this one. This is a foreign body granuloma. Skin effect. I think you have heard this, like causing a blue on the skin. It's because of the technique. So about the complication management, we have to manage into the late and early complications. The complication that is early can cause a disaster in your brain career. It's like blindness or vascular complication. So if it happens, you have to Okay, that's good. Okay. If you have this problem, please keep the higher lace if you use AK in your office and do it immediately. If you inject at the right time and the right location, you can recover 100%. Okay? About the complication of the vascular. I really want to share about this because it causes the most disaster. And about the other complications, like, okay, since your effect is easy, you can just use higher lace or extrude it out. About the edema, you can use the compression, observe, and okay, the other one that is important is what we call irrigated nodule infection. Okay? The nodule we have to make it like the black gland one or non-black gland one. The black gland we just do IND as a normal first phase. The non-black gland first treat as infection. From my experience, the one that have diagnosed the complication as granuloma actually is the infection or biofilm infection. So treat as infection first, okay? And then you do all the same with flora. If it do not improve, if you treat infection, okay, you can treat it as an immunoreaction. Okay, this is the ear of the rabbit. Okay, picture A and B. The necrotic area is the black area. We compare the control one and the highlight one. This picture is to show the difference. If you have a complication and inject highlight, everyone know highlight, right? Is the enzyme that dissolve the hyaluronic filler. Okay? If you inject it terminal 4 hours, the result is much better than 24 hours. So time is the key. Okay? If you do not the one to practice in this field, it will be kind of easy to help other patients. If you can have any suspicious, please refer promptly. You will save the patient. Okay, this is the recovery. If you do it right, you can have still no scar. Okay, so the blindness, this is very important because retinal circulation, you have the golden period of just 1 to 1.5 hours. So that's why blindness is a disaster. So for the blindness, prevention is the key. You have many types of injection techniques. The cannula with blunt cannula and the sharp one. Okay? To say generally, blunt is safer, generally, but blunt can also cause blindness. Okay? If you inject carelessly. Okay? So you have to inject gentle and inject slow. Okay? And this is the blindness management you can take a picture. Okay, just follow this. This is the best management strategy that is available now today. You may do the removable by injection like this. Okay, so I would like to close this slide. Every single procedure that you want to done with the patient, you have to always do this through the pre-checklist. You have to screen your patients well, the anatomy, physiology problems severely. You have to know the quality of the product that you use, the properties, the risk, and also you have to know yourself as a physician. Your knowledge, your skill, your report to make the best treatment for each patient. Okay? At this point, is there any questions? Okay. So, if there's not any questions, I would like to close my talk with this slide. And I'll offer question later or discussion is always real quick. Okay, thank you so much.